Now I'm going to invite Stephen Whitear in the front row to ask his question. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Ely is in the midst of a dental health crisis. The only dentist I can use turned me to private as my only option the day I turned 18 2 years ago. And this is the situation that virtually everyone I know is in, and I can't afford it. What can be done?
Thank you, Stephen. Ely is in a dental health crisis. I'm going to invite Hooray Henry to be the first person to speak to that.
Thank you. This is very personal to me, as I said in my opening. My father was a dentist, particularly working with children. I think there are a number of things that we need to do. We need to provide supply. And I know a little further north from here in Peterborough, there's great pressure to try and get the new campus there from Anglia Ruskin to actually include a dental school. That for me would be great, but it's part of the solution. We need to have more dentists now. We also need to do something important, which is we need to think about prevention and education. We need to think about how we avoid you needing the dentist as often, and therefore how we take the pressure off. If my father was here, he would be saying, I don't want to take your tooth out. I don't want to fill it. I want you not to have the problem in the first place. So for me, we need to push and we need to get more dentists. That campus in Peterborough, the opportunity there is important. But as with so much across healthcare, prevention is so much better. So I want to do that and education at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Lucy Frazer, your turn.
Stephen, this is an issue that many people have raised with me locally, and you ask, what can we do about it? So I'll tell you what I've already done. I've raised it nationally with those in government, ministers, because this is actually a national issue as well as a local issue, and I've raised it with Jan Thomas, who's the chair who runs the health board here, and she has recently taken on the care for dentists. And the output of that, what we've achieved as a result of that is two things. First of all, we have a national plan. It's set out in our manifesto, but we've already started delivering it. We're going to create 2.5 million more appointments, and we're doing that by offering more to dentists to take up NHS work, because there's an issue that there are dentists that are just refusing to do NHS work, and we need to incentivise them to do that. I visited quite a lot of dentists locally, and what they tell me also is there's a training problem here. Because people don't train locally, they don't start to work locally, and it's something that I want to continue to look at. And finally, the local element of that. So I'm working with Jan very closely. I get regular updates from her. She tells me that she also has a local plan to solve this. It's not going to change overnight, but she's confident that with our support, she can get the dentist appointment that you deserve.
Thank you. Thank you. Obi Monye. What can be done about the Ely dental health crisis?
Thank you, my lord. The pressure on dentists at the moment is inexplicable. When I asked my dentist, why is it that you're under so much pressure? And his response was more was about the system. So we need to find out more about what it is that is making the system so high pressured and forcing the costs to rise. So this is something that we would have to do, consult and find out how we can deal with this issue to address the cost issues here. Stephen, just like you, I have to pay for a dentist too. So I try as much as possible to avoid going to a dentist because I know it will cost me quite a lot. So what I've done is try and cut out the biscuits, the sugars, so that I don't visit the dentist at all. So these are things that we could do practically, but also we need to consult and find out how we can, drive the costs down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask Andy Cogan of the Green Party.
It's quite simple. We need to raise the taxes that are raised to raise what we give to dentists. I talked to Jacob, my last NHS dentist before COVID 4 years ago. He was packing up to go back to Poland. Why, I said? He said, because it's quite simple. The tariff, what the government pays for services, doesn't cover the cost of the services. Therefore, dentists are opting out of doing NHS work. It's quite simple. He also said, as a tip, he said, if you're waiting for an NHS dentist, you'll wait forever. I suggest you get the softest brush you can find and brush your teeth as gently as you can and eat nothing that might crack your teeth. My daughter-in-law recently spent £600 fixing a cracked tooth. Money she could scarcely afford. She works at Adam Brooks. She also said things like, how come you pensioners got 10% as a pay increase, we got 5%? I had no answer to that one, but we can ask the government. She's here, she can tell us how it happened. But that's what we have to do. We have to raise the amount of money we spend on our services and give the money so that more dentists can be encouraged to do more work. I've heard the same from doctors as well. Lots of NHS doctors do not do more than one session a week for the NHS. That's the minimum you do as a consultant because they get more money treating the private sector first, and that means we have a two-tier health service. If you pay, you get the treatment today. If you wait, I've been waiting 2.5 years for cancelled appointments at Adam Brooks for a follow-up. That's what it's become under this government that she is part of. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Rob Rawlins, what are we going to do about Ely dental health crisis?
I don't know. So I know the problem. We've moved from London and we've kept our dentist over there. This doesn't impinge on my special focus platform, so pass.
Thank you. Elizabeth McWilliams.
Ethan, the most common reason for children aged 5 to 9 to be admitted to hospital is rotting teeth. So I echo what Hooray has said, and I'm sure we'll both speak about this more generally, that we need to really focus on prevention. And one of the ways that Labour will do that is with supervised toothbrushing in school for children aged 3 to 5. We do need more dentist appointments in the system, and Labour will introduce 700,000 more urgent appointments. But in order to do that, we need to recruit and we need to retain the staff. And the fact that there is this dental desert here, that should be a trigger for us to say, well, this is where we specifically need people. So we need to get more joined up by identifying where these gaps are and working to fill them better. Sorry for the pun.
Okay, thank you very much. Ryan Coogan, your turn.
Again, it's another example where Britain is broken. Britain is broken, it needs fixing, it needs reform. It's absolutely ridiculous to not have an NHS availability here in Ely, or in the rest of East Cambridgeshire, or even in the country. And the fundamental issue is not that of personnel. The dentists are here in the country. It's actually because of finances. Why would a dentist want to work for a pittance? And essentially, as an NHS dental operator, that is what you are doing. So the capacity that dental operator does is actually moves across to the private sector, and you can pay extra money, pay the amount of money that the dentist feels is right and just, to actually get seen by the same dentist that historically you would have had on the NHS. And it goes along to the same lines, really, that we need to actually make dental work in the NHS. And that's something that I can do with reform.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Charlotte Kane.
Thank you for your question, Stephen. I'm sorry you haven't been able to get an NHS dentist. Unfortunately, you're one of many, and when I've been out canvassing, I've heard some terrible tales of people either having to spend their savings in order to get the treatment they need, or remain in significant pain with whatever is causing the problem getting steadily worse because they don't have the savings with which to pay. It's a serious problem and it needs to be addressed. Unfortunately, it started when the Labour Party changed the dental contracts. They were told that it would not be workable and they carried on regardless. And then the Conservatives haven't changed it, and we've just heard that despite being our MP for 9 years, they've only just started looking at it. So we'd review the contracts to make sure that we bring more dentists back into the NHS so that everyone can have an NHS dentist, everyone can get an appointment. As people have said, prevention is important too, so we'd remove VAT on children's toothbrushes and toothpaste, and the free school meals will give people healthy food, which will also lead to healthy teeth.
Thank you, Stephen. I hope you found that helpful discussion.